Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Gruesome and Grotesque video. As always, I just do these videos randomly when I read something online or through my Google News app that I feel merits posting here within this playlist. In fact, when I was reading this information here, I almost had to do a double take because I thought I was reading the exact same story from another incident that I talked about just under a week ago. But no, this is another tragic situation involving someone, a very young person, passing away after being stuck, in this case, under 10 feet of sand. The other story that I was talking about was about Ian Spinlove, that poor 13-year-old who ended up passing away after being buried under 6 feet of sand. Here, though, in this situation, it involves a poor 18-year-old who ended up dying underneath that sand. If you haven't seen my other video about Ian Spinlove, I'll include the link for it below. Please check it out when you have a chance. You'll see how eerily parallel it is here. But yes, in this situation, let's talk about this. It's about poor Levy Caverley, 18 years old, who tragically died underneath 10 feet of sand. But the twist, the almost add-on here, is his sister, his 17-year-old sister, was with him as well. They were both buried within that sand. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that situation here. And then those of you that are on the local side, love to hear if there was more information that I might have missed as well. So here's what happened. You have to go back to just about a week ago, and this was at a situation, a New Jersey beach where this occurred. In fact, the beach is called Chadwick Beach Island, there in New Jersey. Some of you that are on the local side, again, let me know what that beach is like, because I was looking at the information and it just looks like your standard beach. There's nothing else that looks differently from others out there. But this family that was there, the Caverleys, they were out-of-towners. They were there just on vacation. I believe it was the young boy, Levy Caverley, his 17-year-old sister, who has remained unnamed because of her being a minor, which of course is perfectly, makes sense. We're not going to name her situation here, her name, because of her being underage. And then the mom and the dad, there may have been one other persons, but I'm not 100% sure, but they were there at the beach just hanging out near the beach entrance itself, and then other people that were there were watching what was happening. In fact, a lot of the details associated with this tragic situation comes from those eyewitness reports. In fact, I was reading one from the New York Post that stated there was a woman, she was there with her husband. She was watching this family as they decided to start digging. Apparently, they wanted to do a really, really deep hole. This sand that's there, the way that that person was stating, by the way, the beach is called Ocean Beach 3, was stating that it was just recently rained, so the sand was dry on top, but it was quickly harder. Like, in other words, it was more wetter underneath that dry sand. And so she was witnessing as she saw this family, and you're looking at a picture of it here, they were digging deeper and deeper into that hole. In fact, she was telling her husband that she was taking pictures of the surrounding area, but they inadvertently caught with that same situation, that family, as they were digging around. And then they stated that she almost wanted to intervene because it looked like they were just going more and more into the sand, to the point that, get this, it was 10 feet deep. Can you imagine that? I mean, the sand itself must have truly been very, very wet, very hard in order for them to be able to do so. Because one would think anything below even that amount, like let's say 5 feet, 4 feet, it would just collapse in of itself. But no, in this case, it was actually much, much further. She almost wanted to intervene, and this poor woman kind of thought against it, and it's haunting her to this day. She stated that she saw them just pretty much moving bucket after bucket, almost in a system where one person would hand the bucket to the other, another one would hand the bucket to the other, just putting that sand out and then making sure that it showcases that, yes, it's absolutely just being thrown out as that hole got deeper and deeper. What makes this truly gruesome, truly tragic was this. All those family members were there when it happened. Now, the witnesses were not. They stated that it was maybe about 2 or 3 hours after they were around that area that it occurred. But the mother, the father, and then obviously the young boy and the young sister, they were all there when it happened, when it suddenly collapsed. Levy Caverley and his unnamed sister were in that hole 10 feet deep when that sand just collapsed. I have no idea what that would have sounded like, but you could probably imagine it just like one big thump. Like all of a sudden, it was just like a reverberating thump. And then when that occurred, there they were, suddenly trapped, 100% trapped underneath 10 feet of sand. Just a horrible way to go. When I was initially doing my other video on Mr. Ian Spinlove, I thought that was bad, and it obviously still is. But this, just 10 feet, and both of them stuck within that, and the parents seeing this, like they were actually on top when that occurred. No way, no how. Like, this is absolutely one of the worst situations to be there. According to other witnesses, they stated there was a lot of calamity, a lot of commotion. Clearly, this was something that everyone was trying to fix as quickly as possible. The Toms River Police Department, they were there as quick as possible. Some officers and some EMS units were there too. The fire department came out as well. They all came as quickly as they could. But considering how deep that sand was, can you guess how long it took them to get there? It was 2.5 hours to dig that hole out. Like, that's how deep it was when it came to that situation. It boggles the mind. Like, the pictures you were seeing, you saw that there was a hole that was made in transition. Like, it wasn't completed just yet, but you could see that they were already halfway through. Like, their bodies, in other words, were halfway down. Imagine them when the hole was almost completed. They were already not visible anymore. They were underneath it. Like, so when that happened and it just collapsed, that's why it took so long for the rest of the dispatchers, officers, and everyone else to be able to get to those poor kids. But they did, and of course, unfortunately, he ended up passing away right there. My understanding was, reading all this information, poor Levy Caverley, he died on the spot. Like, he wasn't alive when he was rescued. But his unnamed 7-year-old sister was amazingly still alive. Again, 2.5 hours being buried underneath that sand, and she was alive. So I'm sure there's going to be more details released of how she was alive once everything calms down and she's able to recount more of the story. Let's go by this, though. Maybe there's a chance that Levy, that when it collapsed, that he was able to prevent maybe the sand from getting to her. I don't know. 10 feet of sand, that's hundreds of pounds right there above. So I have no idea how she was able to survive without having oxygen, without having something else that caused her to be able to breathe in a normal fashion. But somehow she did. And so we'll go by the basis that maybe he figured out a way to make sure that she was alive, but that obviously he ended up passing away. And then once she was rescued, she was taken to nearest hospital, and that's the latest situation as of this point. So horrible, horrible situation for everyone involved. Imagine the family. They saw this happening right there, right in front of them. And obviously they tried to dig as quickly as possible, but there's nothing quickly you could do when you're considering so much weight, so much sand there, and for those poor passersby as well, those witnesses. In fact, she was stating in that same article that she wanted to talk to them, and to this day she's having nightmares about it. She stated that she's agonized at the fact that she could have said something. She wanted to say something, but now obviously that didn't occur. And so in hindsight, she says, I should have walked over here and said, you've got to watch it, don't dig, and that she has a lot of guilt because of it now. Just horrible situation. But again, if anyone has any more info on the local level, there was a lot of people that showed up there as well. People initially thought too that somebody would have drowned actually within the beach, but no, because of this situation, it just completely is different. But if anybody has any more info on the local level, then please let me know, especially those of you that have gone to the beach. How is it possible that sand that deep could be dug 10 feet without it collapsing? I originally thought that it must have been something else, like holding it up, like maybe some makeshift building or built like of wood, something like that, like within the sand to do so. But no, this was absolutely just 100% sand that was being done. But let me know as well. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.